Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics and Classics. This is episode number 3176 and Doubleshot number 3070. This one, the following one, we're going to do basically some image trades. Yep, I've been doing a lot of Marvel lately. Why not basically do just two straight up basically just image stuff? First one we're discussing is Spawn Resurrection. My original hope was getting my hands on the Spawn Compendium so I can cap up the rest of the first half 200s. But apparently the size book was too big for my phone, so I switched to this one. I even tried doing the Compendium Volume 6. Too big for that one too, so... Alright, so this book contains Spawn Resurrection number 1, along with issues 251 to 255 of the ongoing series. So, in Spawn Resurrection number 1, Al Simmons comes back. He is back as Spawn. This, of course, is the aftermath of the conclusion to 250. Now, I have made this prediction years ago, prior to 250's release. I predict this. What if Al Simmons came back in 250? And the person was like, yeah, that actually sounds like a good idea. Oh, I have a review for this. And then just by sheer coincidence, Al Simmons comes back. So, basically, for these issues here, this is basically reestablishing his status quo. By the way, we have Todd McFarlane and Paul Jenkins on the writing duties of this book. We have John Boy on the artwork here, who also has the cover. And Tommy Murray does initial artwork here. He's also the editor. So basically, he's working with Terry, and because the fact that they both love the same woman, Wanda, and the fact that so apparently it's revealed in here that Wanda and Terry actually had more than just Cyan. Cyan was basically their daughter, and then they had twins, but it was established at that point that Al and Wanda did have supposedly their child in the afterlife. So Wanda is gone. She is dead. She is not coming back. As of the most recent issue of the series, which is about 350, she has not been resurrected at all. It's been almost 10 years. They've not revived her at all. So basically, Al, despite the fact, yes, he's jealous of Terry, the fact that he wasn't able to have children with Wanda like he was. So, as sort of a thank you for taking care of his wife, he gives him and the whole family, including the grandma and all the kids, protection. Though Cyan is older at this point than she was originally in the 90s. In the 90s, she was a little girl, a cute little girl. Now she's a teenager. And this is basically also like reestablishing a status quo. There's also mention here of the late Jim Downing. Jim Downing fell down a freaking hole in 250 and disappeared. Do not know what happened to him. He just disappeared. And basically, yeah, he is back. And it feels like a Spawn book again, basically like a comic film from the 90s. Despite the fact it's written to be modern day. Also, Spawn's got his big hunking sword that he carries him now. Yeah, he did carry them briefly, then for some reason he dropped it. Do not know why. But the Resurrection 1 show was just him saying, yeah, Spawn's back. So, by the way, also, I do have one criticism for this book. Todd, why the heck do we have so much frickin' dialogue in these dialogue balloons? It's like reading a paragraph. It feels too wordy. This one here feels fine, but a lot of the other ones just feel way too wordy. So, we have some supernatural stuff here. Yeah. Oh, by the way, in case you're curious, so we have Spawn basically like a vigilante, where he's like taking down supernatural threats here. Also, the clown is back. Yep, the clown is back. Except he's thinner now, no longer the chubby guy. Nope. Too much dialogue. After talking to this other guy here, and then we see an angel. Yes, an angel who basically hunts down spawns. Yep. Later on, of course, they do have the whole thing with Terry Fitzgerald, which the Hood gives him protection, and then he immediately has him wipe his memory of this meeting. So yeah, everybody knows Al Simmons is back. He's back alive. He's no longer a walking corpse like he was for a long time. Yeah. The status quo for him as of currently for the past 8 years has, like, more like the past 10 years, is that his face is no longer burnt. Originally that was a temporary thing and then went back to being scarred again. Here it's basically fixed. When I chance to talk about the previous issues, I will explain what's going to spawn. Apparently it's like a symbiote now. Yes. And the fact this actually is a fraction of power. So, in case you're curious, when it's the encounter Terry Martin of Fitzgerald, well, then he encounters this girl who he hangs out with for a couple issues. There was an angel, of course. And by the last issue, I think this is the one where they established the protection spell. Yeah. And the thing is, Al is visiting Terry right after they just buried Wanda. So, he gives them protection for him, the grandma, Cyan, the twins. And yes, Al does admit to Terry he was definitely jealous of the fact he couldn't have kids with Wanda. So then he leaves, and the book ends with this giant creature looking at the pretty girl. And that's it. Yeah, this just feels like a start of a new era for Spawn. That's all it is with this book. So I'm going to give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Next up is a character I have mentioned a couple times, but never got a trade payback from the series. When it comes up here, I will basically show it off here. Alright, we have Savage Dragon Archives, Volume 1. This contains the Savage Dragon Baptism by Fire 4-issue miniseries, along with the first 21 issues of the Savage Dragon ongoing. The book opens up with our main character, who is not named at this point, in this open area, surrounded by fire, and he's butt naked. And also, he has amnesia. This won't be explained until issue 100 of what the heck happened here. Yeah, it just... And by the way, also these archive books, they're all published in black and white, so here's an image here for that one. Yeah, this image here, this would not be explained for quite a while. So then he basically gets named Dragon. He joins the Chicago Police Force. Also in the initial 3 issues, he meets... he also gets a fight with Bad Rock of Youngblood. Yes. And there's also Parents by Youngblood issue 3. And then right after the miniseries wraps up, then we have the ongoing, where we're introduced to more of the supporting cast, basically, for Savage Dragon, of course. He's also part of his Officer Dragon. He, of course, fights up against Overhaul, who is one of his villains, who debuts here. We also debut here of the Super Patriot, who is a old man who works for the government, who at one point ends up shooting at people. We're also introduced to his 3 different girlfriends he has in this book. One, apparently, he's very serious with. We'll look at that. One is one named Debbie, where after sleeping with her one time, she's immediately killed by one of the bad guys. Yep. And then later on, he meets Rapture. Rapture is a character from the group Freak Force, excuse me. They're a vigilante group that operate in Chicago. Yes, the book takes place in Chicago, where he sees her and he immediately falls in love with her, and she notices it too. She sees the fact that he's handsome, and they start dating. And they have sex too, multiple times in this book. Oh my gosh, it is like a frequent thing about these issues. Like, they have sex in the shower. It is like all over the place. Then you also lose with another woman, which apparently like at one point they stopped seeing each other for a bit. Then he sees another woman, and then Rapture is basically like jealous of this. We'll also introduce the character of a female officer named Alex, who is a character who has been referred to in the books as his rebound woman, because anytime he loses a woman, he ends up with her, and he has tried multiple times to get married to her throughout the years. Eventually he did, many years later, when there was a diversion popped up and finally married Alex. So we also have a counter here in these one issues. We have to meet the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We have his first meeting with them. He also has an encounter with the Wildcats. Even have many encounters with Grifter. We're also introduced to a character who was also a supporting character in the TMNT book that was published by Image, which, get this, Eric Larson did initial artwork for it initially, despite the fact he's in this book too. Yes, basically, it's like for these first couple years, it's like we're establishing a lot really quickly. Oh, little spoiler when it comes to Rapture. Rapture is the mother of the current lead character of Savage Dragon, Malcolm Dragon. Yes, that is actually his mom. And the way the book draws her is that she's a smoking hot woman. And this woman in the book, she appears like white. In case you're curious though, what is Rapture's skin color? She is black. And Savage Dragon is not racist at all. He basically sees her as a beautiful woman and just sleeps with her. Though I think in the case of their sexual adventures they go on throughout several of these issues, it gets like, I think that Larson goes a bit overboard with it. Yes. I would say of the three women he sleeps with, this one probably by far is the most serious out of all of them. At one point, after one of the times, he's like, oh, thank you for that. Yeah, she thanks him because, like, oh, that felt so good. Yeah, it's a bunch of adult stuff here with this book because Eric Larson does not have the comic authority to worry about in here, so he can do whatever the heck he wants. If he wants to pick his characters having sex, he will do that. As a matter of fact, this not be the only time he picks characters having sex, because it's in Image Comics. You don't have to worry about censorship at all. You can just publish whatever the heck you want. And this book, by far, is one of two comics published by published by Image that were published during their first couple years that's still being published today. The other is Spawn. Spawn, I'm getting very close to basically finishing up reviewing that, getting caught up with that one finally. So I figured, oh, why not start Savage Dragon? Yep. But we got a lot of setup here, a lot of development. Savage Dragon himself, of course, goes on a date with Rapture. Like, I'll take it slow first, and then eventually they get more stuff. At one point, they go to the beach, and she's topless. This leads to them having sex. Yes, because Rapture's hot. Yeah. But that's kind of what happens over the course of 21 issues. There's also an officer in the Chicago Police Department where he sort of doesn't like Dragon very much at all because he caused a lot of damage. But one can tell in the book, a lot of damage is basically to Dragon himself. Basically, he keeps the damage he does when he beats up bad guys. Because normally this would be police brutality, but because he's a superhuman, a lot get with because also he's a office police department. Also, he keeps ruining his shirt. Yeah. There's also one point, it's like, he puts on this, because he's so big, he's such a big, beefy guy, and of course, he's never been on a date before, so Rapture just picks out a suit for him, he's like, oh, you look very good. Like, then like a slow, and then the beach stuff happens. It's like, wow, it's just so awesome, this book. And I give this book a 10 out of 10. It's really good, but do not show this book to kids, because of how adult this book is. Oh, in case you're curious though, is the violence like graphic? Not really. It's very cartoonish. Is there nudity in this book? in the series. Yes. Yes, there is. There's tons of nudity. Mostly female nudity in this book. Excuse me. Those of you who are women, do you see Savage Dragon butt naked in this book? Yes. Yes, you do, but you don't see his groin. There's no full frontal nudity shot for him. He very rarely is seen, like, you can tell he's butt naked, but you can't fully show him butt naked for reasons. The women, oh yeah, they're completely naked. You do see full front and rear nudity. Yeah, the women are the most naked of the whole book. Because Eric Larson is like, he can do whatever the heck he wants. And he's one of those writers from Image who Rob Liefeld is actually still in good terms with. Like, currently he's not in good terms with Atomic Fallen, but he is in good terms with Eric Larson. As a matter of fact, he had Eric Larson on his show where he was actually drawing one of the issues. I think he mentioned on the show he was actually drawing issue 250 at that point for the book. Yeah, I think because he's constantly on this title. Also, there's a period of time where he put the title on an 18-month break because he became the publisher of Image. So he apparently didn't let anybody publish his book while he was publisher. Then he stepped down, resumed publishing this book, and he's one of like 3 people who still write and draw this character, like their own creation. The other 2 being Stan Sakai with Usagi, and the other being Mike Magnolia with Hellboy. You could kind of say Atomic Fallen was Spawn, but he's not been writing him a lot of the time. No. I would say he's written a majority of the series of Spawn. He actually stopped doing the artwork early on in the book. He let other people do the artwork for the book because he probably didn't have time to. He probably spent more time with writing. Yes. But all in all, great book. Okay, so that's pretty much a particular review. Please be sure to comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next, we have another comic corner with 2 more Image books. One that recently came back last year. The other is not being published right now. Okay? But see you next video. Bye.